The gate groaned as it shut behind them, the sound echoing off timber and ice. Castle Black's courtyard was a muddle of packed snow, churned to gray slush by countless boots. Smoke rose from the smithy in a dark plume. The tang of coal and horse sweat and men long unwashed stung the air. Demons slipped through the lesser postern as the rangers rode in by the main gate. He had walked the last mile from the hill where Caraxes lay hidden, his cloak drawn up, his pack slung over one shoulder like any other traveler's. The subterfuge was laughable on one level. Few men his age and bearing passed without notice, but men saw what they expected. At the wall, they expected tired, shabby, half-broken men come to take the black. He was willing to play the part. The rangers' horses clattered across the yard, hooves slipping a little on the frozen ground. Benjen Stark rode at their head, cloak flapping, the gray in his hair more pronounced than his brother's. Jon Snow rode beside him, shoulders hunched against the cold, eyes taking in everything and nothing at once. A horn sounded from the top of the wall. Somewhere above, a voice shouted a greeting. Men emerged from doorways and alleys, some to take reins, some out of idle interest. The black-clad brothers of the Night's Watch looked smaller than Daemon had expected. Not in height, but in number. "Ben Stark," someone called. "You bring us more green boys? We're running out of straw dummies for them to beat." A man shuffled forward from the crowd, stooped, with a red blotch on his nose and a ledger clutched in his gloved hands. Bowen Marsh, if Daemon's memory of names served. Lord Steward of the Night's Watch. He glanced at Jon, at the other new recruits trailing behind, and his mouth tightened with a familiar mixture of resignation and worry. Another mouth to feed, another back to put between the world and the dark. Daemon moved toward the nearest brother on gate duty, a wiry man whose beard had more ice in it than hair. "I seek the Lord Commander," he said. "I have a letter from Eddard Stark of Winterfell." The brother looked him up and down, eyes lingering on the plain sword at his hip, the way he held himself. "You and half the realm," the man muttered. "Old Bear will be glad of the company. He loves reading letters about as much as he loves shaving." Still, he jerked his head toward the timber stairs leading to the hall. "Up there," he said. "You'll find someone to take you to him." Daemon nodded his thanks. As he turned, he caught Jon Snow's eye for the briefest of heartbeats. The boy swung out of his saddle, hand on his horse's mane. His cheeks were flushed from the ride, his curls crusted with snowflakes. There was a moment, a flicker, where his gaze snagged on Daemon's face, as if some half-remembered dream tugged at him. Then someone clapped him on the shoulder, laughing, and the moment was gone. Good, Daemon thought. Let it be that way for now. Threads woven too quickly snapped. He climbed the stairs, feeling the eyes of the watch on his back. Jeor Mormont's solar smelled of ink, smoke, and the faint ammonia tang of birds. The room was low-ceilinged, its walls lined with shelves bowing under the weight of scrolls and leather-bound books. A bearskin lay before the hearth, thick fur singed at one corner. Above it hung a faded banner showing a black bear on white. Jeor Mormont himself sat at a heavy table cluttered with maps and ledgers. His hair had gone mostly white, what remained cropped close to his skull. His beard was a bristling thicket, shot through with old crumbs. He wore black like the rest of the watch, but his cloak's fur was thicker, its clasp worked in the shape of a bear's head. The raven watched from its perch, head cocked, black eyes bright. It made a soft, throaty sound as Daemon entered. "Corn," it muttered. "Corn, corn. I have none for you," Daemon told it. "You'll live." The bird regarded him with what felt like offense. Benjen Stark stood by the hearth, rubbing at his hands to bring the blood back. His blue eyes tracked Daemon with frank curiosity. "So," Jeor said, turning the folded parchment between thick fingers, "Eddard sends me old knights now. I ask him for men and he finds me pensioners. You might find an old sword cuts cleaner than a young one," Daemon said mildly. "Less bravado, fewer wasted swings." Jeor snorted. "Or the arm shakes when it matters." But Ned Stark's word still carries weight at this wall, as it did in the South once. He says you fought in wars before he was born. Before his father was born, Daemon thought, but held the words back. And that you wish to see the wall before you take the black. Jeor went on. If you take the black. He let the pause linger. You have too much to say in your eyes for a man who means to spend the rest of his days shoveling icy shit, the old bear said. What are you, Ser Demian Waters? Some lord's byblow looking for a clean way out of a scandal? Some sellsword who angered the wrong magister? I am a man who has seen too many wars end poorly, Daemon said. I would see where the next one begins, if you'll have me. Benjen's gaze sharpened. You speak as though it's certain, he said. This next war, isn't it? Daemon asked. Benjen glanced at Jeor, then back at Daemon. We've lost men beyond the wall, he said. Rangers, some found wrong. His jaw tightened. Others not found at all. Jeor grunted. You'll have heard tell of wildlings, Ser, he said. Mance Raider, the king beyond the wall. He gathers more of them each year. That's war enough for this old fool. He jabbed a thumb at his own chest. Dead things and blue-eyed shadows I leave to old Nan's stories. The raven flapped suddenly, calling, Dead, dead. Daemon met its bead-black eye. Your bird is wiser than you give him credit for, he said. Jeor's brows rose. Oh? And what do you know of dead things, Ser? Daemon thought of the Shadowbinder's fires, of visions of pale figures moving through forests, of hands like frost gripping swords crusted with rime. I know this, he said. When the world grows colder, it is not just men who grow hungry. Things wake that should sleep. Things remember they were wronged. Jeor's lips thinned. I have a wall full of men who see enemies in every snowdrift, he said. I don't need another. No, Daemon agreed. You need someone who has seen what fire can do. Someone who knows that ice is not just water in another shape. Benjen shifted. What did you fight in, Ser? He asked. You speak as if you know foreign wars. I fought where dragons flew, Daemon said. Long ago, before your usurper king ever lifted a hammer. Before Robert Baratheon was anything but a squalling babe at Storm's End. Benjen stared. Jeor frowned. You talk in riddles, the Lord Commander said. I have little patience for riddles. But enough to let me stay, Daemon said. Your letter from Eddard Stark asks only that you give me board for a time. Watch me, weigh me. If you find me wanting, send me back to the King's Road with your curses at my heels. If not, Jeor challenged. Then when your dead things come knocking, Daemon said quietly, you will have someone under your roof who knows how to burn them properly. The raven hopped along its perch, feathers fluffed. Burn, it croaked. Burn, burn. Jeor's fingers tightened on the parchment until it creased. You're a presumptuous bastard, he said. Daemon smiled thinly. I've been called worse. Jeor grunted again, which Daemon was coming to recognize as his version of grudging amusement. Very well, the old bear said. You'll stay for a time. You'll eat our food. You'll train with our men. You'll keep your eyes open and your mouth shut unless spoken to. You'll not take the black until I say, however. I'm too old to waste good oaths on bad men. That is fair, Daemon said. Benjen Stark stepped away from the fire, expression thoughtful. I'll see him to the yard, he said. Let him meet what passes for steel at this end of the world. Do that, Jeor said. And keep your own eyes open, Stark. I've had my fill of surprises from the south. I've no patience left for ghosts walking into my hall. Daemon inclined his head to both men, then turned to follow Benjen. Ghosts, he thought. If only you knew which ones I've met. The yard at Castle Black was smaller than Winterfell's, hemmed in by the looming presence of the wall on one side and a shabby timber hall on the other. The ground was packed snow and frozen dirt, pitted with the scars of 1,000 half-hearted drills. Move, you sacks of offal! Ser Alliser Thorne's voice cut through the cold like a lash. This isn't a mummer's show. You think the wildlings will wait while you scratch your arses and look pretty. He paced among the recruits, black cloaks snapping, gaunt face twisted into something between contempt and grim satisfaction. His hair, once black, had gone iron gray at the temples. A long, white scar tugged at the corner of his mouth, making his sneer permanent. Daemon watched him with a faint, distant disdain. He knew the type well. A man whose pride had been broken once too often, who now survived by breaking others. Alliser had been on the losing side of Robert's rebellion, sent to the wall as a traitor, if the tales were true. He had not forgiven the world for it. Jon Snow stood among the clumsy boys as an adult might stand among children. He moved with a grace born of both talent and relentless practice. His wooden sword struck with crisp efficiency, not the wild, overextended swings Daemon had corrected in Winterfell's yard. When a big, thick-armed youth named Gren lumbered at him, Jon sidestepped, brought his blade around in a neat arc, and tapped the other boy's knee hard enough to make him stumble. "Again," Jon said. "Guard low when you see me drop my shoulder. You're leaving it open the same way every time. You're leaving your mouth open the same way every time," Ser Alliser snarled, swooping in. "Ser Snow, Lord Snow, whatever you are today." Jon stiffened. "I'm just Jon," he said. "You're nothing," Thorne snapped. "Less than nothing. A bastard who thinks he's better than the men who stand beside him because he's swung a sword in a lord's yard. You shame the rest of them when you show off." "That's not," Jon began. A blow from Thorne's practiced sword caught him on the arm, hard enough to make him grunt. "Did I speak to you?" Thorne said. "Did I give you leave to have thoughts?" The other boys watched, some with discomfort, others with poorly hidden satisfaction. Small folk took their pleasures where they could. Seeing a noble-born bastard humbled was entertainment and justice in one. Benjen shifted beside Daemon. "Ser Alliser takes his work seriously," he said, tone carefully neutral. "He takes himself seriously," Daemon said. "The work is an afterthought." Benjen hid a smile poorly. In the yard, Thorne turned on another recruit. A plump, terrified-looking boy whose furs hung askew on his shoulders. "Lord save us, they've sent us a pig in man's clothes," Thorne said. "What's your name?" "Samwell Tarly, sir," the boy stammered. "Tarly?" Thorne repeated, savoring it. "I knew your father, Lord Randall. Hard as boiled leather, that man. I can't imagine what crime you committed to be sent here." Samwell swallowed. I read too much, sir." Laughter rippled through the yard. Thorne's smile was thin and vicious. "Well, you'll learn different here," he said. "Here, reading won't save you from a wildling axe, or from what comes out of the dark. Up, try to hit me." Sam lifted his sword with both hands, arms trembling. Thorne slapped it aside contemptuously, then jabbed the boy in the belly with his own. Sam wheezed, doubling over. "Harder," Thorne barked. "Do you think the dead will go easy on you because you're soft?" Daemon's jaw tightened. He had known brutal training masters before. Some believed in breaking boys down to build men from the pieces. Others simply enjoyed the breaking. Alliser Thorne struck him as more of the latter. Jon moved without seeming to decide to. He stepped between Thorne and Sam, wooden blade raised. "Leave him be," Jon said. "He's not a fighter. He'll never be. There are other things he can do for the Watch." Silence fell. Thorne stared at him, delighted. "Oh, listen to Lord Snow," he said softly. "Giving orders already. You think your father's name means something here, bastard? You think because you can swing a stick a bit better than these piles of horse dung, you get to say who stands and who falls?" He stepped closer, face almost touching Jon's. "Hit me," he said. "Go on. Show them all how brave you are." Daemon felt the air tighten. He knew this moment. He had seen its twins in 100 yards. Pride and injustice, bait and hook. A boy's honor measured against a man's cruelty. Jon's knuckles whitened on his sword. His jaw clenched. Ghost, sitting at the yard's edge, rose to his feet, fur bristling. "Ser Alliser," Benjen said warningly. Thorne's eyes flicked to him, then back to Jon. "The Lord Commander might love your uncle," he said. He won't love you if you turn your sword on a brother. Hit me, boy. Give me the excuse. Jon didn't move. Daemon stepped forward. Ser Alisir, he called, letting his voice carry just enough to turn heads. If you have such a hunger to be struck, I would be happy to oblige. Thorne whirled, cloak flaring. Who in the seven hells are you? He snapped. Ser Demian Waters, Daemon said. Late of nowhere worth mentioning. The Lord Commander has agreed to host me for a time. I thought I might see what passes for sword work at the end of the world. Murmurs stirred. Thorne's lip curled. And you decide to interfere in my training on your first morning? I see no training, Daemon said. Only you beating strength into those who have it and beating hope out of those who don't. It is a waste of both. Thorne's eyes narrowed. You think you can do better? I know I can, Daemon said. But I am an old man and old men tire. If you want a beating, I suggest you ask while I still have patience. A ripple of laughter, quickly stifled, ran through the watching brothers. Color rose in Thorne's cheeks. Take a sword, he snarled. If you think your arms remember how to use one. Daemon took a practice blade from the rack. Felt lighter than Winterfell's had. He rolled his wrist, letting the weight settle, feeling the wind and balance. His joints complained, but the ache sharpened rather than dulled him. He stepped into the yard. Do you want to come at me? He asked. Or shall I come at you? I should hate to deprive you of the chance to show these boys the proper stance. Thorne spat in the snow and lunged. He was not a poor swordsman. Experience moved in his strokes, a lifetime of fights shaping his blade. But rage blurred his judgment. He came in too hard, too fast, hoping to overwhelm with weight and bluster. Daemon let him. He parried once, twice, turning the blows aside with minimal movement. Thorne's blade jarred against his own, shock traveling up his opponent's arms. On the third swing, Daemon stepped inside, twisted his wrist, and neatly flicked Thorne's sword from his grasp. It hit the snow with a soft thud. Silence dropped like a stone. You leave your wrist open when you rage, Daemon said conversationally. Your grip loosens. Anyone with less fear and more sense than these boys could have done the same. Thorne's face went a dangerous shade of red. You, he began. Daemon flipped the wooden sword in his hand and caught it by the blade, holding the handle out. Again, he said, if you're capable of learning. Or you can take the day to consider whether your humiliation will teach these boys more than your cruelty ever did. The brothers around them shifted, torn between shock and a wicked, quiet glee. Jon stared, lips parted. Samwell Tarly blinked as if he could not quite believe what he'd seen. Thorne snatched up his sword, eyes promising future reckoning, and stalked away without another word. Benjen exhaled slowly. You make friends quickly, Ser, he said under his breath. I have always believed in leaving an impression, Daemon replied. Saves time later. He turned briefly to Jon. You were right, he said. The fat one will never be a swordsman. If the wall needs his blood, it will take it whether he can hold a sword or not. Better to use his mind while you have it. Jon swallowed. Thank you, he said. Ser. Daemon inclined his head. Do not thank me yet, Jon Snow, he said. I may make your life harder than Ser Alisir ever could. The mess hall of Castle Black was low and smoky, warmed more by bodies than by the fire in the hearth. Men crammed shoulder to shoulder along rough tables, bowls of thin stew and crusts of black bread before them. The stew was more water than meat, the bread hard as old boots, but hunger made both palatable. Voices rose and fell in a constant murmur, punctuated by the occasional bark of laughter. Daemon sat near the back wall, where he could see the door and most of the room. Old habits died hard. A tankard of small beer sweated in his hand. Jon Snow sat with a handful of his fellow recruits at a nearby table. Samwell Tarly hunched over his bowl, hands wrapped around it as if to coax as much heat from the thin stew as possible. He ate cautiously, as though expecting the food to bite back. Gren and PYP argued about some triviality with the intensity of men who had few other comforts. Dolorous Ed Tolet, Daemon recognized his type at a glance, the man whose tongue took the worst of things and turned them into wry complaints before they could crush him. Muttered something that drew a burst of tired laughter. "And if the others come in the night," Ed was saying, "they'll probably trip over my boots and break their icy necks. That's the only way I'm likely to kill one." "The others aren't real," PYP scoffed, though his eyes darted toward the door. "Just tales for scaring children." "Tell that to Ser Alistair," Gren said. "He says he saw one on the Trident once. All glowing eyes and cold steel." "Ser Alistair says many things," Jon said. "Few of them worth listening to." There was a flicker of laughter at that. Sam smiled nervously, then glanced over as if afraid Thorne himself would emerge from the shadows. Daemon lifted his tankard, hiding his smile. He remembered camps like this. Different banners, different accents, the same stew. Men huddled together against cold and fear and boredom, turning their lives into stories so those lives would feel bigger than they were. What they lacked here was belief. "Ser," a voice said at his elbow. Daemon looked up. Jon Snow stood there, bowl in hand, shifting his weight from foot to foot. "May I?" Jon gestured to the bench. "Sit," Daemon said. Jon did, setting his bowl down carefully. Ghost slid under the table to lie at his feet, a white shadow. "You held your temper today," Daemon said. "That will surprise Ser Alistair more than losing to me." "I wanted to hit him," Jon admitted. "I still do." "Of course you do," Daemon said. "He goads you because he knows you are dangerous. Bastards who can think are always more trouble than noble fools." Jon's mouth twisted. "My being dangerous won't help the Watch," he said. "Not if I can't stop making enemies before I even swear the oath." Daemon took a swallow of beer. "When you take the black," he said, "you think you become no one. You think your name and your past and your blood all vanish under a cloak. That is the story the Watch tells itself. It is a comforting lie." Jon frowned. "My uncle says." "Your uncle is a good man," Daemon cut in. "He wishes the Watch were what it says it is. Once perhaps it was. Now it is something else. A place where men hide from the world and the world hides from itself." "And what am I hiding from?" Jon asked quietly. Daemon looked at him. "Expectation," he said. "A life where you are always half of something and never whole. Here you hope to be whole. To be a brother, nothing more, nothing less. There is honor in that." Jon's gaze dropped to his stew. "And is it so wrong to want that?" he asked. "To want a place where no one calls me bastard, where I can make my own way?" "No," Daemon said. "It is not wrong." He paused. "It is simply not all there is." Jon's brows drew together. "You speak in riddles, Ser." "It is a habit," Daemon said. "Old men collect them. Listen, Jon Snow. The wall is not the end of the world. It is not even the end of you. Oaths are important, I do not say otherwise. But there will come a time when the world will ask you to choose between what you have sworn and what you know is right." He thought of Rhaenyra, of Viserys, of all the times he had chosen wrong and called it necessity. "When that time comes," he said, "remember that oaths are made to spare men from having to think. You will not have that luxury." Jon stared at him. "You sound as if you know what will happen," he said. Daemon smiled thinly. "I know what always happens," he said. "Winter comes. Men break. Others stand. The faces change. The pattern does not. Others." Samwell, drifting closer, started at the word. "You mean the others? The White Walkers?" PYP, behind him, rolled his eyes. "Sam, for the last time, they're stories. Stories have teeth," Daemon said. "That is why they survive." He drained his tankard and set it down. "Finish your stew," he told Jon. "Tomorrow you climb the wall. It is easier on a full stomach." "How do you know that?" Jon asked. Daemon rose. "Because some heights you only respect after you've fallen from them," he said. "And I have fallen farther than most." The cage jerked as it began to rise, chains clanking, pulleys groaning. Jon gripped the wooden slats, knuckles white. His breath came in short, visible bursts. Beside him, Samwell Tarly made a low, panicked sound that might have been a prayer. "It's a long way down," Sam muttered. "It's a very long way down, Jon." "Don't look down," Jon said, not taking his own advice. Daemon stood with his back to the cage, one hand wrapped casually around a support. Benjen Stark stood opposite, feet braced, cloak snapping in the wind that shot up along the wall's face. Snow and ice blurred past them. The wall's surface was not smooth. It was a frozen cliff of ridges and shelves and old drips, layers upon layers of winters stacked atop one another. Here and there, Daemon could see where something had been cut into it. Tunnels, caches, ancient attempts at shaping the unshapable. "How high is it?" Sam asked, voice thin. "Truly. High enough that if you fall, you won't live to complain," Benjen said. "About 700 feet, Daemon said. Benjen blinked. "You've never been up," he said. "How would you know?" "I have an eye for distances," Daemon replied, "and a fondness for tall things." "Fondness," Sam echoed faintly. "That's one word for it." The cage creaked. The courtyard of Castle Black shrank below them, the men in it reduced to black motes. The sky above seemed very far away and yet somehow nearer with each jolt upward. Jon's jaw tightened. "This is what I wanted," he said half to himself. "To see it, to stand on top of the world." Daemon watched him. There was fear, yes, but something else gleamed beneath it. A fierce, almost hungry anticipation. The boy wanted to test himself against the height, against the cold, against whatever lay beyond. Bastards and second sons had always been drawn to edges. "You will see it," Daemon said. "The world, and more than you asked for." The cage shuddered to a stop. A horn sounded overhead, short and sharp. Hands pulled at ropes, securing. A door scraped open, letting in a blast of wind that shaved the breath from their lungs. "Off with you, then," a brother grunted, "before the bloody thing changes its mind and drops you back down." They stepped out onto the top of the wall. The wind hit them like a thrown stone, cut through wool and leather and fur, sliding between layers, finding skin. It smelled of nothing and everything. Snow and stone and the faint, distant tang of pine. It carried no hint of hearth smoke, no warm trace of human life. Jon stepped forward, boots crunching on the packed, frost-rimed surface. The top of the wall was wider than he had imagined. Broad enough, Daemon reflected, to ride three abreast if a man were foolish or brave enough. Grooves worn by centuries of passage scarred the ice beneath their feet. Wooden walkways had been laid here and there, their planks rimed with frost. He went to the edge. The parapet was little more than a low lip, fashioned from ice and frozen stone. Jon curled his fingers over it, leaning out. The world fell away. To the north, the land rolled out in vast, white waves. Forests spread as dark smears across the snow. The haunted forest, men called it. In the far distance, a line of low hills humped beneath a veil of mist. The sky felt closer here, the clouds like a lid waiting to drop. "It goes on forever," Jon breathed. "Until it doesn't," Benjen said. He came to stand beside his nephew, pointing. "There, that darker line, that's the milk water when it's not frozen solid. Beyond it, the frostfangs. Very fine name for mountains that want to tear you open." "And beyond that?" Jon asked. Benjen's mouth twitched. "Beyond that, more cold," he said. "Wildling camps, empty valleys, places even crows don't bother going. The end of the world, if you like." Jon's breath plumed before him. Daemon hung back a little, letting them have the moment. He felt the cold differently than Jon did. Not because it bit less. His bones ached as if they'd been soaked in ice, but because he recognized something riding on it. Presence. It was like the Godswood at Winterfell had been old, watchful, but stripped of warmth of life. A sense of attention without care. The wall was not just a barrier of ice. It was a scar in the fabric of the world, a place where something on one side pressed against something on the other. He closed his eyes briefly. In his mind, fire rose. Not the heat of the brazier in his chamber, but another memory. Black stone underfoot, colorless flame drinking his blood, the voice of the Shadowbinder whispering of things that slept and things that woke. Fire is not the only old power, she had said. Ice remembers too. Now, on top of the wall, he felt that remembrance. It's beautiful, Jon said. It is terrible, Daemon said softly. Jon glanced back at him. Which? He asked. The view or the wall? Yes, Daemon said. Benjen huffed a short laugh. You should see it at night, he said. When the auroras dance. When the stars feel close enough to touch. I will, Jon said. Perhaps, Benjen replied quieter. If you live long enough. The words were not meant to wound. They were simple fact, spoken by a man who had seen too many young faces vanish over that northern horizon. We aren't beaten yet, Jon said. No, Benjen agreed. But we're not winning either. Remember that when you train with Ser Alisar, the man is a shit, but he knows one truth. If you're not better than the man across from you, you die. And the wildlings aren't the worst things that walk up here. Jon's hands tightened on the ice. Daemon stepped closer, feeling the wind tear at his cloak. You wanted to be no one, he said to Jon. A brother among brothers, equal in duty if not in skill. I did, Jon said. You won't have that luxury, Daemon said. Look. He nodded toward the smaller figures along the wall, men on watch, moving between shelters, hunched against the cold. Their heads turned more often toward Jon than toward the forest. Eyes flicked to his sword, to the way he held himself, to the stark cast of his face. They see you, Daemon said. They see whose blood you carry. They will look to you when something comes out of that forest that they do not understand. They won't even know they're doing it. Neither will you at first. I'm just Jon Snow, Jon said stubbornly. For now, Daemon agreed. But blood and fate are stubborn things. You can run to the end of the world and take a vow to be no one. They will still find you. Dark came early at the wall. By the time the last smear of sickly daylight had drained from the sky, the cold had deepened to a living thing. It crept under doors, through cracks, between the boards of shacks, into the marrow of men's bones. Daemon stood on the ramparts, cloak pulled close, breath curling from his nose and mouth. The torches along the wall burned low, their flames ragged in the wind. Brothers moved between them, stamping feet, muttering to one another, faces wrapped in scarves to keep their skin from cracking. Their eyes were fixed mostly on the ground before them, on the path of their patrol, on the next step and the next. Daemon's gaze went further. The haunted forest lay in darkness, a rough black smudge against the snow. Even in full daylight, it swallowed sight. At night, it was a single vast shadow. The stars above were sharp and cold. And between the trees, faintly, something moved. At first, he thought it was his imagination. Ashai's shadows reaching out to taunt him, the echo of the Shadowbinder's warnings. But the more he watched, the more certain he became. Light, not the warm, yellow tremor of a campfire, not the steady orange of a torch. This was pale, bluish, like foxfire or moonlight trapped in a jar. It flickered between the trunks, here and gone, as though whoever or whatever carried it walked with a slow, measured tread. You see it too, a low voice said at his shoulder. Daemon did not start. He had heard the approach, the soft crunch of boots on frost. Maester Aemon stood beside him, swaddled in layers of black wool, his blind eyes turned toward the forest. His skin was parchment fine, mapped with 1,000 lines. The wind tugged at the fringe of his hair, what little remained, and at the cloudy stones of his maester's chain. I see many things, Daemon said. Some of them real, some less so. This is real, Aemon said, though whether it is what you think it is. He let the thought trail off. You know what I think it is? Daemon asked. I know what you are, Aemon said quietly. Or rather, what you were. Daemon went very still. Do you? He said. Not your name, Aemon said. Names are masks men put on their faces. I knew a man once who put on the name of Daemon Targaryen, and found it heavy enough. I need no more. The light in the forest flared, then vanished. The trees swallowed it. Daemon watched the place where it had been. You carry Valyria in your bones, Aemon said. You move like my brothers did once when I was young and the world still thought us invincible. Your eyes see further than most men's. Your age does not sit right on your face. That last is unkind, Daemon said. It is true, Aemon replied, and truth is seldom kind. He tilted his head as if listening to something the wind carried that Daemon could not hear. I felt you the moment you stepped into our yard, the Maester said, like an old song hummed in a forgotten tongue. And yet you held your tongue, Daemon said. You did not shout my not name to Jeor Mormont. Aemon's blind eyes wrinkled at the corners. Jeor has enough worries, he said, and you are not here for crowns. If you were, you would not have come to this grave of fools and exiles. You seek something else. Daemon watched his own breath drift away. I seek to keep the world turning, he said, or at least to ensure it does not stop before I'm ready to leave it. Ah, Aemon murmured, ambition of a different flavor, but ambition still. He turned his face toward the forest. The dead grow restless, he said softly. Birds bring us tales. Men, when they return, bring worse. You are not wrong to watch the dark, but do not mistake a light for its source. You think I see phantoms, Daemon said. I think you see the edges of things, Aemon replied. The line where one truth rubs against another. Be careful, old dragon. Men who stand on lines fall into cracks. Daemon smiled, thin and sharp. It would not be the first time I've fallen, he said. I survived the last. Barely. Aemon's head turned, blind gaze meeting Daemon's with eerie precision. Then perhaps you have learned caution, he said. Our watch needs men who can be cautious and ruthless in the same breath. The wind rose, keening along the wall. The distant glow did not reappear. If what you fear truly wakes, Aemon said, it will not be kings or small folk who meet it first. It will be us. Old men, green boys, and a few ghosts who haven't realized they're dead yet. He smiled, faint and wry. Best that we have at least one dragon on our side, he said. Daemon's hand tightened briefly on the icy parapet. I am only one man, he said, old as you say, with one dragon who has seen too many wars. Aemon sighed. And yet sometimes one man is enough, he said, if he stands in the right place at the right time and chooses correctly. He turned away, tapping his cane along the path. Watch the dark, he said over his shoulder. I will watch the fire. Daemon remained, eyes fixed on the forest, feeling the wall hum faintly beneath his boots like something alive. They brought the corpse in at noon. The rider who staggered through the gate with it slung over his horse's back had lost 2 fingers to frostbite. His eyes were wide with something colder than mere chill. Found him near the milk water, the man gasped as they took the body down. Just lying there, no tracks, no sign of what did for him. Now the corpse lay on a rough-hewn table in a storeroom that never quite shed the cold of the wall pressing in behind its stone. The air smelled of ice and old meat. Jeor Mormont stood at the foot of the table, arms crossed, mouth a hard line. Benjen Stark was beside him, jaw clenched. Maester Aemon hovered at the corpse's head, fingers gentle on its brow. Daemon stood opposite, studying. The dead ranger's eyes were closed. Frost rimed his lashes. His skin had the waxy pallor of men who had been too long in the cold. His lips were blue. His black cloak was stiff with ice, his mail shirt frozen to his tunic. There are no wounds, Aemon said, voice soft. No cuts, no rents, no bruising I can feel. He froze, Jeor said. Men do beyond the wall. In full mail, Daemon asked. With his sword still in its sheath, Benjen's eyes flicked to him, troubled. His horse was found grazing, Benjen said. Saddle frozen, but the beast itself unhurt. A man can fall in snow and never rise again, but his mount would not stand easy beside him for long. Daemon traced a finger along the dead man's sleeve. The flesh beneath was cold as stone. There was no give. "What is his name?" Daemon asked. "Jeor Flowers," Jeor said. "Ranger of this watch for 12 years. Daemon tucked that away. Names mattered. The dead deserved them. "You say there were no tracks," he said to the rider who had brought the body in. A lanky man hovering near the door, arms wrapped around himself. "Yet he rode with others." The man swallowed. "Aye," he said. "We left with 5. Just me and the body came back. The others? No sign. I swear it, sir. We looked. We called. Nothing answered but the wind. The wind has teeth these days," one of the other brothers muttered. Jeor shot him a look that silenced him. "Whatever took them," Benjen said quietly, "left this one behind, as a message, or a mistake." "The dark doesn't make mistakes," another man said. "It just waits." Daemon watched the dead man's fingers. They were long, calloused. Frost had gathered beneath the nails. There was no sign of struggle in the set of his hands. No broken fingers, no blood crusted where he might have clawed at something. "He looks at peace," Aemon murmured. "Too much so." Daemon's frown deepened. He had seen men frozen before, on the stepstones, when storms swept in without warning. In the mountains near the Vale, when winter chased armies into passes they had no business crossing. The dead always wore the story of their death on their faces. This one did not. "He should stink," Daemon said abruptly. Jeor blinked. "What?" "He should stink," Daemon repeated. "He has been dead for days, perhaps longer. Even in this cold, there should be some smell. Corruption. Rot." He leaned in, inhaling cautiously. Nothing. Benjen's nostrils flared as he tried the same. His eyes darkened. "It's like a statue," he said. "Statues do not come back," one of the men muttered. Daemon's gaze snapped to him. "What was that?" he asked. The man swallowed. "Old Nan's stories," he said. "Tales from when I was a boy. She talked of dead men who got up and walked, with blue eyes and a hunger for warm blood." "Stories," Jeor said sharply. "We don't have the luxury for ghosts." Daemon straightened. "Ghosts would be simpler," he said. "They are bound to memory and place. This is something else. Something that raises questions." "What questions?" Jeor demanded. "Man's dead. That's the answer." "Why did he not rot?" Daemon asked. "Why does he still look like a man who might wake if we shook him hard enough? Why does the cold cling to him like a lover?" The room seemed to grow colder around them. Aemon's fingers trembled slightly on the dead man's forehead. "Burn him," Daemon said. Jeor's head snapped around. "What? Burn him?" Daemon repeated. "Before sundown. Before he remembers he's forgotten something." Murmurs rose. "That's madness," someone said. "He was our brother. And I honor him by not letting him rise as something else," Daemon said. "You think me superstitious. I have seen worse than this and called it by softer names until it bit me. Burn him. If I'm wrong, you lose one corpse's worth of words said over an open pyre. If I'm right." He let the thought trail off. Aemon's blind gaze turned toward him. "You speak as if you have seen them," the old Maester said. "The old enemies." "I have seen worse things than the cold can make," Daemon said. "And I have learned one truth that holds from High to the shivering sea. Fire ends what cold begins." Jeor's jaw clenched. "We are not wildlings to burn our dead like savages," he said at last. "No," Daemon said. "You are men who stand between the world and whatever walks out of that forest. Do not let your pride be the hole in that wall." The raven, somewhere beyond the door, squawked faintly. "Burn," it croaked. "Burn, burn." Jeor closed his eyes briefly. "By the 7 bloody hells," he muttered. "Benjen." Benjen Stark looked at the corpse, then at Daemon, then at his own gloved hands. "If there is even a chance he is right," Benjen said quietly, "we cannot risk it." Jeor grunted. "Very well," he said. "We burn him, at dusk, and if he does rise, I will personally see to it that the next corpse on that table is you Ser Daemon. Daemon inclined his head. A fair bargain, he said. I have avoided being on tables for a long time. I have no wish to start now. The pyre crackled as the first flames took. They had built it quickly in the courtyard, stacking rough timbers in a crude lattice. The dead ranger had been laid atop, his cloak arranged as if he were merely sleeping on some rude bed. His sword rested at his side. Someone had insisted it go with him, for honor's sake. Snow fell in slow, fat flakes, hissing as they struck the growing fire. The brothers of the Night's Watch stood in a ring around the pyre. Some held torches. Others clutched their cloaks tighter, expressions wary. Ser Alliser Thorne watched from the back, face unreadable in the shifting light. Jeor Mormont stood at the pyre's foot, torch in hand. Jafer Flowers, he said, voice rough, ranger of this watch. You rode far and died far. We remember you. He hesitated, the torch flickering. Burn him, Daemon said quietly. Jeor shot him a look, then thrust the torch into the piled wood. Flame caught. It snatched eagerly at the oiled rags they had tucked between logs, climbing, licking along the timbers. Smoke rose thick and black. Heat pushed back the cold in a stinging wave. For a long moment, nothing happened. The fire grew, devouring wood, curling around the ranger's boots, creeping up his clothes. The smell of burning will reach them, harsh and acrid. Someone coughed. He's just dead, one of the men muttered. Dead's dead. Daemon watched. The flames reached the ranger's chest. His eyes snapped open. They glowed a cold, unnatural blue. Several men swore, stumbling back. The dead ranger's hands, which had lain folded neatly over his stomach, spasmed. Fingers clawed at the air, reaching, grasping. He moves, someone gasped. Of course he moves, Daemon thought grimly. You left him something to move with. The ranger's mouth opened. No sound came from his charred throat, but his body jerked against the bindings they had used to tie him to the pyre. The wood creaked. For an instant, it looked as though he might break free, hurl himself at the men around him, teeth bared. Then the flames reached his hair. Fire whooshed, racing along the oil-soaked strands. The smell shifted abruptly, from wool to meat. The ranger's jerking slowed. The blue light in his eyes dimmed, flickered, went out. He sagged into the fire, limbs slack. Silence fell. Even the crackle of the flames seemed to hush, as if the fire itself had paused to mark the moment it owned the dead completely. The raven on the rookery's roof flapped its wings, cawing. Burn, it croaked. Burn, burn. Well, Daemon said into the stunned quiet. At least he will not be walking anywhere he shouldn't. Jeor rounded on him. What in all the hells was that? He demanded. His voice shook. Not with fear alone, but with the rage that comes when fear finds it has been right all along. What I told you it would be, Daemon said calmly. A dead man who had forgotten to lie still. Benjen's face had gone very pale beneath his beard. I've never, he swallowed. Not like that. Corpses in the snow, men frozen hard as stone. But eyes, blue, Aemon said softly, like a summer sky on a winter's day. He clutched his cloak tighter around himself, blind eyes turned toward the fire as if he could see it. That is how my uncle described them, he said. When I was a boy, and the last of the old tales were told in Dragonstone halls. Blue eyes and cold hands. Old Nan's stories, one of the brothers whispered. They're real, another said hoarsely. 7 save us, they're real. The 7 won't help you, Daemon said. Nor will the old gods, nor Lawler, nor any of the others, if you stand here wringing your hands while the dead learn to walk. You have seen what happens when you burn them. Remember it. Jeor's jaw clenched. You knew, he said. You knew this would happen. I suspected, Daemon corrected. Suspicions are not facts, my Lord Commander. But I have seen enough to know when it is wiser to act on them. Jeor stared at the pyre for a long moment, then turned away. Benjen, he said. We double the watches. No one goes beyond the wall without my leave. If any more bodies come in, they go to the fire before they go anywhere else. I don't care if they're brothers, kings, or bloody septons. Benjen nodded sharply. And you? Jeor added, jabbing a finger at Daemon. Well, tell me everything you know about whatever that was. I won't have ghosts and old men whispering secrets in my castle when my men could die for lack of them. Daemon inclined his head. Gladly, he said. Though I warn you, some of what I have to say will sound like the tales your grandmothers told you to keep you from wandering into the dark. Jeor bared his teeth. After this, he said, jerking his chin toward the burning corpse, I think we'd be fools not to listen. The fire's glow dwindled to a dull, sullen smear against the snow. From the height of the wall, the courtyard below looked small, the pyre no more than a tiny, flickering wound in the dark. Men moved around it like ants, shadows on shadows. The smell of burning did not reach this high. Daemon leaned on the parapet, gloves creaking. The stars were razor-sharp tonight. They seemed closer here, as if one could reach up and pluck them from the sky. The air was so cold it felt brittle, as if a careless breath might shatter it. Far to the south, high above the clouds, a shape moved. Most men would have missed it. To them, it would have been a trick of the eye, a smudge, nothing more. But Daemon knew the rhythm of those wings, the long curve of that body, the way Caraxes rode the thin air where no bird dared follow. The dragon's presence was a comfort and a reminder both. He had not brought Caraxes closer. Not yet. There would be a time to show the wall what a dragon looked like against the ice. This was not it. Men's minds could only take so many truths in a single day before they cracked. Below, along the wall's top, a torch moved. Jon Snow trudged his watch, shoulders hunched against the cold, ghost padding at his heel. The dire wolf was little more than a smear of deeper dark against the frost, but his presence shone in Daemon's awareness. The boy walked as if the night were thinner around him than around other men, as if the darkness pressed less hard. You felt it, Daemon murmured, watching him, even if you don't know what it was. You watched that body burn and saw your own reflection in its eyes. He knew how such things marked a man. The first time he had seen a corpse rise, not from cold, but from fire and foolishness. He had felt something shift inside him, a crack forming. Once the world showed you that the rules you lived by were lies, you could never wholly believe in them again. The wind keened along the wall. You stand between worlds, Jon Snow, Daemon said softly. Bastard and lordling, wolf and dragon, living and whatever this new thing is that claws at the edges of the world. He had not asked to be bound to the boy. That was the thing that rankled the most. He had always chosen his causes, his lovers, his wars. Now prophecy and blood and the meddling of dead kings had thrust this ember of a boy into his path and dared him to ignore it. He could not. I claimed once that I did not want crowns, he told the stars. I wanted to shape the hand that placed them, to whisper in kings' ears and make them better than the fools who came before. He thought of Daenerys Targaryen, on her sea of grass with her little dragons, of Jon Snow, pacing the wall, unaware of the truth of his birth, of Aemon, blind and old, the last true Targaryen the world recognized, listening to the cold with a dragon's heart. The dragon has 3 heads, men used to say in Valyria. 2 will never be enough. In his mind's eye, he saw them. A girl of fire, a boy of snow, and himself old and scarred, standing between them like a hinge. I cannot be king, he said. The world would not suffer it, and I have no patience left for the game. But I can choose who will be. I can choose who stands when this is done. He thought of Rhaegar's folly, of crowns placed on wrong heads for wrong reasons, of Lyanna's statue, stone roses in her lap. I will not let your son be another prince who sings himself to death, he told her memory. Nor will I let your niece burn a world she barely understands. I will make something better, harder. True. The words tasted like an oath. He straightened, feeling the wall hum beneath his boots. I will claim him, he said quietly. Not as father, those ghosts are crowded enough, but as heir. As the sword I should have been, if I had not squandered myself on little wars and little queens. He looked once more to where Jon's torch moved, far along the wall. When the time comes, he said, you will stand where I cannot. You will carry a name that will make the world shake, whether you want it or not. Above, high and distant, Caraxes screamed. The sound did not carry to the men on the wall. The wind stole it, shredding it into the night. But Daemon heard it, felt it, a shiver along his spine. Soon, he told the dragon, the dead, the living boy below. Soon we stop waiting. Soon we begin. The stars stared down, indifferent. The wall stood, cold and mute, between life and whatever waited beyond, and Daemon Targaryen, old, scarred, stubborn, set his hand to it as if to claim it, and everything it held back, for his own. The cold that morning was the kind that burned. It found its way under collars and through seams, biting at wrists and throats and ears until fingers went numb on sword hilts. Breath steamed in great white gouts. The sky above Castle Black was a hard, brittle blue, the sun a pale coin giving light without warmth. Again, Daemon said. The boy in front of him, Hob, from some nameless village south of the neck, thick-shouldered but not yet hardened, grimaced and raised his practiced sword. His stance had improved over the past week. His feet were less likely to cross, his knees less likely to lock, but he still led with his shoulders, telegraphing every blow. Opposite him, PYP grinned, teeth white in a wind-reddened face. Try not to fall on your arse this time, he said. Guard. Daemon snapped before Hob could waste his breath on a retort. Less chatter, more learning. Your enemies beyond the wall won't be witty. They'll be dead. Try to match them in usefulness. Samwell Tarly, watching from the fence with a practiced sword he'd barely touched, ducked his head to hide a smile. Jon Snow stood a little apart, working through a sequence of cuts with a focus that turned the rest of the yard to blur. Ser Alliser Thorne paced along the line like a crow looking for carrion. Your grip is wrong, Thorne, Daemon observed conversationally as the master at arms passed. Too tight. You choke the sword. It resents that. Thorne's jaw clenched. I've been teaching boys to swing blades since before you were whelped, old man. And yet they still swing like butchers, Daemon said. Perhaps consider that the problem is not the meat. A few of the recruits snorted, hastily smothering their amusement. Thorne's eyes narrowed. You undermine my authority, he said, in front of the boys. If your authority can be undermined by truth, Daemon replied. It was not worth much to begin with. Benjen Stark cleared his throat. Enough, he said. They'll have need of both your tempers when they ride the ranges. Save some of it for the wildlings. Daemon let the matter drop for now. He did not press every advantage immediately. He had learned, however belatedly, that some blows were most effective when delayed. He moved along the line, watching, correcting. A tweak to Gren's elbow. A sharp rap to PYP's knuckles when he let his guard droop after a successful strike. A nod to Jon when he adjusted his stance without being told, shifting his weight in a way that turned a parry into the beginning of a counter. You see, Daemon said quietly as he passed Jon. You think before you swing. That is the difference between a swordsman and a corpse with a sword in its hand. Jon's mouth twitched. Ser Alliser says I think too much, he said. Ser Alliser fears men who think, Daemon replied. They remember whose fault it was when they die. Across the yard, the brothers' glances toward Daemon held a new wariness. Since the pyre, since Jafer flowers had opened blue eyes in the fire and then sagged back into true death, whispers had followed him like smoke. Dragon blood, some muttered, which said others. Old Valyria breathed a few, thinking him too deaf to hear. He let them talk. Fear could be sharpened into respect, given time. A horn sounded short and sharp. Benjen's head lifted. Riders, he said, from the east. They were due 2 days past. Thorne barked for the boys to stand down. Wooden swords were lowered, breath steaming. Jon's gaze slid toward the gate, something like unease flickering across his face. Daemon felt the shift in the air before he heard the gate creak. Trouble, he thought. The world seldom sends messengers to the wall bearing good news. The ranger's cloak was stiff with ice. He had not bothered to remove it before being dragged into the Lord Commander's solar. Meltwater pooled under his boots as he stood before the table, breath coming in quick, shallow gusts. His cheeks were chapped raw. Frost had burned the tips of his ears. Jeor Mormont stared at him with a gaze that would have cowed a lord twice his size. "Say it again," Jeor commanded, slowly this time, as if my own life depended on you getting the words right. The ranger swallowed. "We saw their fires first," he said. "Wildlings. Mance Raiders people, we thought. A small camp, south of the Milkwater. Smoke by day, glow by night. We came up on them careful like Benjen taught us. Wanted to take a few alive, learn what they knew." He licked cracked lips. "But when we reached the camp, there was nothing. No people, no horses. Tents still standing, pots still over the fire, meat half cooked in them. As if they had just walked away." "Wildlings don't walk away from food," Benjen said grimly. "No, sir," the ranger agreed. "That's why we went on. Tracked them further north. Trails were wrong. No prints, not in the fresh snow. But signs of passage all the same. Bent branches, broken brush, like shadows had weight." Daemon felt the hair prickle on the back of his neck. "Then the cold hit," the ranger went on. "Hard, harder than I've ever felt it. And I've wintered beyond the wall 4 times, my lord. It was like the air itself froze in my lungs. The horses started to panic. One dropped where it stood, ice in its nostrils." Jeor's brows drew together. "You turned back," he said. "You should have turned back. We tried." The words came out as a near gasp. "But they were behind us, in the trees." "Who?" Jeor demanded. "Wildlings? How many?" The ranger's eyes went wide, whites showing around irises darkened by memory. "Not wildlings," he whispered. "Not men. They wore. Some wore bits of leather, old armor. Some wore nothing. Their skin was wrong, like wax left out in the cold. And their eyes. Blue," Daemon supplied quietly, "like sky through ice." The ranger nodded jerkily. "They moved without sound," he said. "No breath, no crunch of snow. Just there." One of them had its hand on Jory's throat before I even knew it had moved. He screamed, and the sound. It turned to steam in the air. The raven fluttered its wings, agitated. "Cold," it croaked. "Cold, cold." "What did you do?" Benjen asked. "What I could," the ranger said hoarsely. "We ran. I've never run from anything beyond the wall before, sir. Not wildlings, not shadows, nothing. But this," his voice cracked. "I rode until my horse died under me. Then I walked. When I looked back, I could still see them. Not chasing, just watching." Jeor's fingers dug into the edge of the table. "How many?" he asked. "How many of these things?" "I saw 3 with my own eyes," the ranger said. "There could have been more. There were others with them. Men. Wildlings, I think. They moved like the dead ranger you burned, my lord." The room went very still. Daemon leaned forward over the map. "Here?" he asked, tapping a spot north of the Milkwater with a scarred finger. "Or here?" The ranger squinted, then pointed to a place between the two. "There," he said, "near the frozen lake. There was a stand of dead trees, black against the snow." Benjen swore under his breath. "We've used that lake for water on summer ranges," he said. "If they're that far south." "They are probing," Daemon said. "Testing. Seeing how close they can come before you notice." Jeor ground his teeth. "I notice," he said. 7 hells, I notice." He looked up at Benjen. "How many men can we spare for arranging? Not counting green boys." 20, Benjen said. 30, if we leave the south-facing towers thin. We can't empty the wall to chase shadows, my lord." "We won't chase," Daemon said. "We'll go to ground, find where they were, see what they left." Jeor eyed him. You propose to go out there? He asked. You, an old man with one good winter left in his bones? I have more winters than that, Daemon said, and I have seen this enemy in flame. I know what to look for and what to burn. Send me with Ben-Jen. And the boy. Boy, Jeor repeated. You mean Snow? Who else? Daemon asked. You will need someone these men will follow when they see what they're up against. Someone whose name carries weight even when he wears black. Ben-Jen frowned. He's still a recruit, he said. He hasn't said his vows. Then we'll see if his vows are to the watch or to the wall, Daemon said. There is a difference. One is a brotherhood of men. The other is the line that keeps those things. He jabbed a finger toward the map's northern edge. From walking through your children's doors. Jeor's gaze flicked between them. You're asking me to risk Ned Stark's bastard, he said slowly, on a ranging that may walk straight into the arms of the others, if that's what they are. I'm asking you to risk a swordsman where you'd otherwise risk 3 boys and a drunk, Daemon replied. If you prefer the latter, I will not stand in your way. Ben-Jen's mouth quirked despite himself. Jeor exhaled through his teeth. You're both mad, he said. But then, so was anyone who ever thought this wall was worth manning. He jabbed a finger at Ben-Jen. Pick 20 men. None of Thorne's soft-handed darlings. Men who've seen more winters than latrines. Snow goes with you. And you? He stabbed his finger at Daemon. If you so much as let my rangers bleed while you hold something back, I'll see you strung from the top of the wall and let the others take what's left. Daemon inclined his head. I intend to hold nothing back, he said. Not this time. The raven hopped along its perch, feathers fluffed. Fly, it croaked. Fly, fly. Daemon's hand twitched, thinking of Caraxes hidden above the clouds. Yes, he murmured. We will. The haunted forest earned its name in the silences between the trees. Snow muted the sound of hooves, of creaking leather, of the occasional clink of mail. Branches bowed under the weight of frost, their tips nearly touching in places, making tunnels of white and gray. The sky above was a low, oppressive lid, clouds heavy enough to drag the world down. Ben-Jen Stark rode at the head of the column, his horse picking its way along a barely visible trail. A few paces behind, Jon Snow followed, his cloak drawn tight, Ghost moving effortlessly through the drifts beside him. The direwolf's breath steamed, his tongue lolled pink against white fur. Daemon rode near the rear, where he could watch both the men and the trees. The rangers were quiet, not just the wary silence of men who knew sound carried in the woods, but a deeper hush. Jafer flowers burning had settled on them like a frost. Men who had laughed at old Nan's tales now eyed every shadow as if it might open blue eyes and reach for them. Milkwater's half a day ahead, Ben-Jen called back over his shoulder, voice low. We make the lake by dusk if we don't lose any horses. Camp there, in and out if the gods are kind. The gods aren't, muttered one man under his breath. Leave them be, another said. If they're watching, I'd rather they didn't notice me. Ghost's ears twitched. He lifted his head, nose working, red eyes narrowing on something in the trees. Jon felt it at the same moment. A subtle stiffening of the direwolf's body, a tension that ran from paw to tail. What is it, boy? Jon murmured. Ghost did not answer, of course. He rarely made sound when he hunted, but he angled slightly away from the trail, as if drawn by some scent only he could read. Daemon saw it. He nudged his horse forward, drawing abreast of Jon. Your wolf smells something, he said. Jon nodded. He does that, he said. He smells more than we do. Wolves often do, Daemon said. So do dragons. Jon glanced at him, puzzled. Dragons, he echoed. Daemon's lips quirked. Later, he said. For now, tell your uncle. The beast doesn't spook easily. Jon spurred forward. Uncle, he called softly. Ghost has something. Ben-Jen reined in. The column bunched slightly, horses snorting, steam rising from their flanks. Men loosened swords and scabbards, the sound of steel on leather muffled by the snow. "Show me," Benjen said. Ghost moved ahead, nose low to the ground, then veered right into a denser stand of trees. Jon followed, Benjen close behind. Daemon angled his horse to cut off any retreat, senses sharpening. The smell hit them before the sight. Not rot, not yet, but the heavy, sweet staleness of meat that had cooled too quickly. The air grew colder, if that were possible. Daemon saw his breath plume thicker. They broke into a small clearing. The snow there was disturbed, churned by many feet, not fresh. Some of the prints had a glaze of ice over them, but recent enough that the wind had not yet smoothed them. Tents sagged under the weight of frost, ropes creaking softly. A cook fire lay between them, a circle of stones surrounding a blackened patch. In the center of it, a pot sat, its contents frozen solid. The Wildling camp. "See?" The ranger from the Solar whispered from his place in the column. "Just as I said. No bodies, no blood." Ghost growled, the sound low and rolling. Jon swung down from his horse, boots sinking into the churned snow. He moved toward the nearest tent, hand on his sword hilt. With his other hand, he lifted the flap. Inside, rough furs lay jumbled, as if someone had risen in haste. A crude doll stared up at him from the bedroll, its wooden bead eyes rimed with ice. "They left in a hurry," Jon said. "Or were taken," Daemon murmured. Benjen dismounted, snow crunching under his boots. He moved to the fire pit, crouching. "Pot's still full," he said. He chipped at the frozen surface with his glove. "Meat stew, not long abandoned." "Tracks?" Daemon asked. "Some," Benjen said. "But they end." Ghost growled again. His hackles rose. He backed away from the center of the clearing, eyes fixed on something at its edge. Daemon followed his gaze. A line of trees loomed there, their trunks dark against the snow. Between two of them, a faint glow pulsed, blue-white, like foxfire smeared on bark. It seemed to fade when looked at straight on, stronger at the corner of the eye. "Back," Daemon said sharply. "All of you." "Why?" A ranger began. The glow sharpened. The air dropped a good 10 degrees in a heartbeat. Men gasped, involuntary, clutching at their cloaks. Frost crawled up the trunks of the nearest trees, cracking as it went. The hair on Daemon's arms stood on end. Out of the shadows they came. They were taller than men, though not by much. One might have taken them for gaunt knights at a distance. Armor of strange, pale plates, swords long and thin at their sides. Up close, nothing about them was human. Their skin was the color of old ice, cracked and ridged as if something beneath strained to break free. Hair hung in lank, brittle strands from skulls that looked more carved than grown. Their eyes burned with a steady, piercing blue, so cold it seemed to strip the color from everything it fell upon. Behind them, the dead walked, wildlings in furs stiffened with frost. A man in old black with a night's watch cloak half frozen to his shoulders. A woman whose hair had become a sheet of icicles. Their movements were jerky, as if pulled by unseen strings. Frost smoked from their mouths in little puffs, though they did not breathe. One of the others, Daemon had no more doubt now, names be damned, stepped forward. The air around it crackled softly. Snow hissed under its feet, not melting, but protesting, as if it knew it should not be touched by such cold. Men drew swords with a ragged chorus of steel. Benjen's voice cut through the sudden panic. "Form up," he shouted. "Shields, spears." They had no shields. This was a ranging, not a pitched battle, but they knew the shapes of defense. Men moved into a rough half-circle, blades out, spears lowered. Horses snorted and stamped, eyes rolling, some trying to rear away from the advancing cold. Jon's hand was slick on his sword hilt. His heart hammered in his throat, each beat loud enough to drown out thought. Ghost's snarl was a constant rumble at his side. "Remember the pyre," Daemon said, voice cutting through the terror like a knife. "Fire. They fear fire, not steel." One of the others tilted its head, as if hearing him. Its lips, if they could be called that, pulled back from teeth like shards of ice. It spoke. The sound was wrong. It had a shape, a cadence, like speech, but the tone was like ice cracking on a frozen lake, like a blade drawn along glass. Frost formed where the noise touched the air. Several of the dead things shuddered and took a step forward as if commanded. "Fall back," Benjen yelled. "Back to the trees. We make a stand there. We'll be surrounded," a ranger cried. "We're surrounded now," Daemon snapped. "Move." The dead advanced. They did not hurry. Why should they? The cold had all the time in the world. One of the rangers panicked. He screamed and flung his torch, one of the few they had lit in the perpetual twilight of the forest, at the nearest white. The flame struck the dead wildling's furs and caught. Fire raced up the corpse's chest, turning it into a staggering torch. The white kept coming. "Head!" Daemon shouted. "Take the head!" Jon moved without thinking. He stepped into the path of the burning corpse, sword flashing. The steel bit into the white's neck, bone crunching. The head flew, flipping end over end, blue eyes still burning. The body took 2 more steps, then collapsed, flames devouring it. The head lay in the snow, mouth opening and closing soundlessly, eyes fixed on Jon. Ghost darted forward, jaws snapping. He seized the thing and shook hard, then flung it into the fire. The blue light went out with a sound like a candle snuffed. It was not enough. The others watched, unhurried. They stepped around the burning white, pale blades sliding from pale scabbards. The metal, if it was metal, made no sound. Frost bloomed along their edges. Daemon drew his sword. It was plain steel, castle-forged, honed as sharp as he could make it in the Black Brothers' smithy. Against these things, it would be little better than kindling. But it was what he had between his hand and their cold. "Back," he said again, voice hoarse. "Benjen, get them back. I'll buy you a heartbeat." "Buy it with what?" Benjen demanded. "Your corpse. Theirs if I'm lucky," Daemon said and stepped forward. The world narrowed. There were the others and the dead, and the men behind him, and somewhere above, invisible in the cloud cover, a dragon who had waited too long. His old heart pounded once, twice, like a war drum. "Come, then," he said in the tongue of old Valyria, the words smoky with age. "Come dance." The others paused, their heads tilted in eerie unison, blue eyes shifting upward as if hearing something beyond mortal range. The dead stilled, mid-shamble. For a heartbeat, the forest held its breath. Then the sky tore. Clouds split as something vast punched through them, sending ragged tatters spinning. A shadow fell over the clearing, bigger than any hawk or crow. Men flung up arms, cursing, eyes screwed shut against the sudden, searing brightness. Caraxes screamed. The sound was not mere noise. It was a razor dragged along the nerves, a battle cry that had rung over stepstones and river crossings and castle walls in another age. It rolled through the trees, shaking frost from branches, startling ravens into panicked flight. Flame followed. It poured from the dragon's throat in a roiling torrent, orange and gold and white hot at its heart. It hit the snow and turned it to steam in an instant, boiling the top layer into a sudden fog. It struck the advancing line of whites and wrapped them hungrily. Fire loved dead flesh, a bit deep, devouring. The first rank of corpses went up like kindling. Furs and hair and dried sinew burned, blackening, curling. The unnatural blue in their eyes flared, then flickered, then died as flames ate through skull and spine. Heat slammed into Daemon like a wall. He raised his arm against the force of it, cloak snapping back. His face stung, the skin on his cheeks feeling too tight. His eyes watered, tears freezing at their corners. Behind him, men screamed in mingled terror and awe. "Dragon!" someone gasped. "By all the... it's a bloody dragon." The others screamed too. Their voices were higher, sharper, like ice fracturing. One of them, caught at the edge of the dragonfire's wash, recoiled. Frost steamed from its armor. Where the flames had licked its pale skin, it blackened and cracked. It did not fall, but it stepped back. Fear, Daemon thought. Or as close to it as these things come. Caraxes wheeled. He had come in low on Daemon's signal. A flare of thought pushed up through the bond they shared, a wordless summons of need and battle. Now he banked, vast wings stirring the smoke and steam into new eddies. His tail whipped, clipping the top from a pine with a sound like a giant snapping a twig. Again, Daemon roared in Valyrian, throat raw. Burn them, Caraxes obliged. He spat another gouting sheet of fire, sweeping it like a scythe. More whites vanished in the blaze. The snow hissed and squealed, melting, refreezing in grotesque, half-molten shapes. The very air shivered with the heat. The others fell back. They were not immune. Their armor frosted, cracked. The edges of their swords smoked where flame kissed them. One took a step too slow and a licking tongue of fire wrapped its arm. The limb burst like overripe fruit, shards of ice-slicked flesh scattering. Its blue eyes flared brighter, then guttered as its body collapsed in a spray of hoarfrost. The remaining two turned. Not to flee. That wasn't how these creatures moved. They withdrew, like a tide pulling back from a shore it had tested and found briefly inhospitable. They melted into the trees, the unnatural glow of their eyes fading, then gone. The dead that remained, those not yet touched by fire, sagged and stilled, puppets with cut strings. Silence crashed down. Men panted, chests heaving, eyes wide and ringed with white. Horses shook, sides quivering, steam rising in great gusts from their flanks. Ghost stood with his fur singed along one side, lips still peeled back from his teeth. Above, Caraxes circled once, then dropped lower, vast body weaving between trees with terrifying ease. Snow-laden branches snapped under his wings. He landed at the edge of the clearing with an impact that shook the ground, sending men stumbling. He lowered his head. Daemon stepped toward him. For a moment, dragon and man regarded one another. One old, one older, both scarred, both breathing hard. Flame flickered at the corner of Caraxes' mouth, heat shimmering in the air around his jaws. "You took your time," Daemon croaked in Valyrian. Caraxes snorted, a plume of heat washing over him. Behind them, a ranger found his tongue. "What in all seven hells is that?" he demanded. "A dragon," Jon Snow whispered, voice raw with awe and something deeper. "A real dragon." He stepped forward despite himself, hand half raised, as if drawn by some invisible thread. Daemon saw it. The boy's face was lit by the fading flames, eyes wide, pupils blown. Ghost pressed close to his leg, but even the dire wolf seemed half-cowed, half-fascinated by the great beast. Daemon turned, addressing the rangers in the common tongue. "This," he said, voice carrying over the crackle of the dying fire, "is why you still stand." For a heartbeat, the world narrowed to boy and beast. Jon Snow took a step forward, boots squelching in waterlogged snow. The heat from the dying fires wrapped around him, a suffocating blanket. Sweat prickled along his spine beneath his furs despite the freezing air beyond the circle of flame. Caraxes lowered his head. Up close, the dragon was less a creature and more a landscape. Scales the size of shields overlapped along his neck, each one nicked or scarred in some way. Old wounds crisscrossed his muzzle where other dragons, other foes, had raked and bitten. One eye was clouded, milky. The other burned a savage amber. Jon's hand trembled. Ghost whined low in his throat, torn between bolting and staying at his master's side. His fur was singed along one flank, the tips of his guard hairs curled black. He pressed against Jon's leg, a tense, vibrating weight. "Easy," Daemon said softly in Valyrian, more for Caraxes than for Jon. "He is not prey." The dragon's nostrils flared. Hot breath washed over Jon's outstretched hand, smelling of sulfur and old blood. The pupils in Caraxes' good eye narrowed to slits, then widened again, adjusting. He tilted his head ever so slightly, bringing one nostril closer. Jon's fingers brushed scale. It was hotter than any forge he had ever stood near, hotter even than the coals of the brazier in Daemon's chamber. Heat radiated up his arm, into his chest, as if a brand had been pressed to his palm. For an instant, he felt something move under his skin. A flicker, like a match struck in a dark room. Caraxes exhaled sharply. The blast of air nearly knocked Jon back. Ghost snarled, leaping between boy and dragon, teeth bared. Men shouted, scrambling for their swords again without even knowing why. Caraxes did not flame. He drew his head back, snorted once more, and settled, folding his wings tighter. His eye blinked, membrane sliding across the molten iris. "Well," Daemon said, "he doesn't hate you. That is more than most men can say." Jon tore his gaze away from the dragon to look at Daemon. "You called him," he said. "You knew he was here." "I brought him," Daemon corrected. "He does not come where I do not go. Not willingly." He let his hand rest briefly on Caraxes' jaw. "We are old companions, the Wyrm and I." Benjen Stark found his voice. "That's a dragon," he said, as if the word tasted strange. "An actual, living dragon." "Your eyes serve you well," Daemon said dryly. "Dragons are gone." One of the rangers blurted. "They've been gone since your maesters decided the world was simpler without them," Daemon said. "They were wrong. The world is seldom simple, with or without fire made flesh." He looked to Benjen. "You have seen, with your own eyes, what walks in your woods," he said, "and what burns it. When you speak of this to your Lord Commander, remember which of them feared the fire." Benjen swallowed. His gaze went from Caraxes to the charred remains of the whites, to the melted, refrozen snow. The air still shivered with residual heat. Several trees at the clearing's edge smoldered quietly. "I'll remember," he said. 7 hells. How could I forget?" Jon's palm still tingled. He flexed his fingers, staring at the faint reddening of the skin. It would blister, he thought distantly. He should wrap it. Yet beneath the pain, there was a strange rightness. As if, for a moment, something inside him had recognized something in the dragon and answered. He met Daemon's gaze. "Who are you?" he asked, voice low. Daemon smiled, not kindly. "Someone who has been waiting a very long time to ask you the same," he said. News traveled strangely in the world. Sometimes it moved with the measured pace of ravens, ink on parchment carried from castle to castle. Sometimes it leapt like fire, jumping from tongue to tongue in taverns and markets, picking up embellishments the way sparks caught dry leaves. In a smoky tavern in Karth, where the jade and opal traders met to drink away the dust of the day, a captain from the Summer Isles waved his cup. "I saw it," he insisted, sloshing wine dangerously close to the edge. "By all the gods of sea and sky, I saw it. A dragon, rust-red as bloody iron, flying over a wall of ice taller than any tower in the Jade Gates." His listeners laughed, half disbelieving, half enthralled. "A dragon," one scoffed, "in the freezing arse end of the world? If you're going to lie, my friend, at least put your dragon somewhere warm. Dragons like heat." "This one liked something else," the captain said. "Death, maybe. Fire in a place that should never see such heat." It screamed, and the sound. It set the ice singing. In a corner, half hidden by hanging beads, a woman in red listened. Her hair was black as spilled ink, her eyes the color of smoke. A ruby pendant at her throat pulsed faintly in time with her heartbeat. She turned her cup between her fingers, the wine inside catching the lamplight. "Rust red," she murmured to herself. "Over a wall of ice. Fire where it should not be." Her god spoke in heat and vision. She had seen a girl in the flames, born of smoke and salt, dragons on her shoulders. She had not seen this old, scarred beast and whoever rode it. "Azor Ahai reborn," she whispered. "The prince that was promised. The warrior of light." She smiled, slow and sly. "You are multiplying little saviors." At another table, a thin man in a hooded cloak, compulsively neat despite the tavern's chaos, dipped a quill into ink. He wrote in small, precise script on a folded scrap of parchment. Dragon sighted over the far north. Description does not match known hatchlings of Daenerys Stormborn. Possible older specimen. Writer unknown. Cross-reference with rumors of old men in black at the wall. He sprinkled sand over the ink, shook it off and folded the note twice. A small, indifferent owl blinked at him from the rafters, tethered by a slim jess to a beam. "Fly fast," he told it as he tied the message to its leg. "The Khaleesi enjoys good stories." The bird ruffled its wings, puzzled but obedient. By the time the tale reached Daenerys Targaryen, filtered through 3 tongues and 2 agendas, the dragon over the wall would be 10 times its size, the ice 100 times taller, and the rider either a corpse, a god, or a madman. In some ways, all 3 would be true. "You brought a dragon to my wall." Jeor Mormont's voice was very calm. Too calm. His fist came down on the table hard enough to make the inkpot jump. A rivulet of black spilled across the map of the north, darkening the already somber lines. Benjen Stark stood stiffly, hands clasped behind his back. Soot streaked his cheeks where Dragonfire's heat had licked them. The rangers behind him bore similar marks. Red skin, singed hair, the haunted eyes of men who had seen something their minds had not yet caught up to. Daemon stood near the hearth, letting the fire's warmth lick at his calves. Outside, through the narrow arrow slit, the sky was a pale smear. Somewhere up there, Caraxes rode the air in restless circles, his shadow passing across the courtyard like a storm cloud. "Yes," Daemon said. Jeor's jaw tightened. "You did not think to mention this before?" he asked. "When you arrived under my roof. When you ate my food. When you suggested we ride out to face walking corpses with 20 men and a bastard. If I had told you I had a dragon," Daemon said, "would you have believed me?" "No," Jeor grated. "There then," Daemon said. "We have saved ourselves an argument." Benjen cleared his throat softly. "My Lord Commander," he said, "whatever else we say, whatever else we decide, the dragon saved us. There is no doubt of that." Jeor shot him a look. "I am not blind," he said. "Nor am I ungrateful. But I am very, very tired of surprises." He turned back to Daemon. "You have breathed fire into a tinderbox, sire. You think this is some forgotten corner of the world where you may play your games without consequence? Ravens fly south. Men talk. Kings listen. Kings seldom listen to the wall," Daemon said. "That has always been the problem." Jeor snorted. "They will listen when they hear there is a dragon here," he said. "Robert Baratheon will drink himself into a stupor and then reach for his hammer. Cersei Lannister will see only a weapon to be claimed or destroyed. Stannis will count the ways this proves his god's right. I'll have their lackeys at my gate demanding I hand you over like some piece of contraband." "Let them come," Daemon said. "I have burned better men than any who sit on that iron monstrosity you call a throne." "You will not burn the king," Jeor said flatly. "I might," Daemon mused. "If he stands between this wall and what it needs." "The wall needs men, not dragons," Jeor snapped. "It needs both," Daemon said. "You saw what those things did to your ranger. You saw what they would have done to the rest of us. Steel is not enough. Fire is not enough. You will need everything you can scrape together when they come in force." Jeor scrubbed a hand over his face, suddenly looking every one of his years. "You talk like you know what's coming," he said. "Like you've seen something we haven't." "I have," Daemon said simply. Benjen shifted. "Ser Demian," he said, tasting the false name. "You fought them as if you had done so before. You called your dragon as if you knew exactly how close he flew. None of this is new to you." Daemon studied the flicker of flame in the hearth. "I have seen dead things walk," he said. "Not these, no. Others shaped by other hands in places far from here. I have seen what happens when men pretend old stories are just that. When they let comfort dull their edges. When they choose not to see until it is too late." He looked up. "I will not watch that happen again," he said. "Not if I can stop it." Silence fell. The raven muttered to itself on its perch, head bobbing. "King!" it croaked suddenly. "King, king!" Jeor and Benjen both glanced at it, then at Daemon. Aemon, who had been quiet in his chair by the fire, spoke at last. "There is more to him than he says," the old Maester murmured. "More than any of us say." His blind gaze turned toward Daemon with unnerving precision. "He is not wrong about the need for fire." Jeor exhaled through his nose. "Very well," he said. "The dragon stays, for now. But you will not ride him over my castle without my leave. You will not flaunt him before the brothers as if this were a mummer's show. And when the ravens carry word of this to Winterfell, you will be the one to stand beside me when Eddard Stark demands to know why his bastard son rides in the shadow of a dragon." Daemon inclined his head. "Gladly," he said. Jeor grunted. "Get out of my solar," he growled. "All of you. I have ink to scrape off my maps and letters to compose that men will call madder than old Nan's stories." Benjen moved toward the door, the rangers following. Daemon hesitated. "A word with Maester Aemon," he said. Jeor waved a hand, dismissive. "Take your riddles to each other," he said. "Leave me my ignorance for an hour." The door closed behind Benjen with a soft thud. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The fire crackled, sending up the occasional spark. Outside, the wind moaned along the stone. Daemon studied Maester Aemon. In another life, in another world, they might have stood side by side at some council table in the Red Keep, younger versions of themselves arguing over king's follies. Now one was blind and bent under a maester's chain, the other dried out by sorcery and exile. "Your dragon has an old smell," Aemon said at last. "Not hatchling smoke, not the thin scent I remember from the last of my kin's beasts. Older, deeper. He is older than your memories," Daemon said. "Caraxes flew when your uncles and cousins were still arguing over whose mother had the better claim." Aemon's hands tightened on his chain. "You speak as if you knew them," he said. "I did," Daemon replied, "though most did not know me. Time is a crooked thing. It does not always flow in the direction men expect." Aemon's head tilted. "I was offered a throne once," he said quietly. "When my younger brother's line failed, I said no. I came here instead to be no one, to serve where I would do more good and less harm." Daemon smiled without humor. "And did you?" Aemon's blind eyes were steady. "Some nights I think so," he said. "Others, I wonder whether my refusal merely left the throne to more fire and less sense. I thought I was choosing duty over ambition. Perhaps I was only choosing one kind of pride over another." "You couldn't have stopped what came," Daemon said. "Madness runs in your line like or in a seam. A different king might have delayed it. He could not have erased it." He paused. "Rhaegar tried," he said. Aemon flinched as if struck. "You knew my nephew?" he whispered. "I knew of him," Daemon said. "I watched him through other eyes. A boy with his head full of songs and prophecy, trying to be a hero in a world that wanted only a competent king. And yet you speak of him with pity," Aemon said slowly. "He was given a story and told it was his to live," Daemon said. "He believed it. He broke the world chasing it. When he finally realized what he had done, it was too late. He thought of Lyanna's stone face, of Eddard's tight jaw in the Godswood. There is another," Daemon said. "Another story twined around his. Around yours. Around mine. The prince that was promised," Aemon murmured. "Born of smoke and salt, under a bleeding star. You and your red priests," Daemon said. "Always needing your prophecies dressed in poetry. Prophecy is a sword that cuts the hand that grasps it," Aemon said. "I am old enough to know that, yet still the words cling." Daemon leaned closer. "Listen to me, Aemon Targaryen," he said, letting the name fall between them like a coin. "There is a girl across the sea with dragons on her shoulders. There is a boy on this wall with a wolf at his heel and a name he does not know. There is an old man who should have died above the god's eye and did not. The world is not giving you one prince. It is throwing all its pieces on the board at once and seeing who still stands when the game ends. And you, Aemon said, what piece are you? The hand that moves another, Daemon replied. If I can help it. He glanced toward the door, where somewhere beyond Jon Snow walked his rounds. I mean to claim the boy, he said quietly. Not by blood. I will not steal Eddard Stark's place in his heart, but by purpose. I will make him my heir. My sword. My answer. Aemon's fingers tightened. You would put a crown on his head? He asked. In the midst of this? With dead things waking in the snow and dragons stirring across the sea. I would give him the choice, Daemon said. When the time comes. A name, at least, that fits the weight he will be asked to bear. Whether he wears it as king, as Lord Commander, or as something new, that will be his decision. And if he refuses? Aemon asked. Daemon's mouth twitched. Then I will find another, he said. The world does not hinge on one boy, no matter what your priests say. But this boy, he burns. You can feel it as well as I do. Aemon's blind eyes turned toward the door. I feel something, he admitted. A warmth, a song. When he stands near, it is not like Daenerys, from what I hear of her. Hers is all fire. His is banked. Ember in the snow, Daemon murmured, waiting for someone to breathe on it. He stood. I will not ask your blessing, he said. You are Maester now, not Prince. But I will ask this. When the ravens carry word of what we have seen, dead men and dragons both, do not let your letters turn Jon Snow into some pawn on Robert Baratheon's board. He deserves better enemies than that. Aemon smiled faintly. Robert Baratheon has never read one of my letters in full in his life, he said. But I will choose my words carefully. Do, Daemon said. The wrong word at the wrong time can kill more men than any sword. He turned toward the door. Behind him, Aemon whispered something in a language older than the wall. A prayer or a curse or both. Castle Black's Godswood was a poor cousin to Winterfell's. The tree that grew there was stunted, its trunk twisted, its pale bark scarred by wind and cold. Its red leaves shivered in the night breeze, scattering a few shriveled remnants onto the frozen ground. A thin crust of ice filmed the surface of the pool at its roots. Jon Snow stood before it, cloak wrapped tight, breath steaming. Ghost lay at his feet, eyes half closed, ears twitching at distant sounds. The direwolf's flank rose and fell in a slow, steady rhythm that matched Jon's own breathing. You speak to them? A voice asked from the darkness between the trees. To your gods. Jon did not start. He had heard the crunch of boots on frost. I don't know if they listen, he said. But I speak. Daemon stepped into the patch of moonlight that filtered through the bare branches. He had left his heavier cloak behind, despite the cold. The night wrapped around him like another garment. His hair stirred in the wind, pale strands catching the light. His face, lined and scarred, looked older than ever, and yet his eyes were bright. Old gods, he said, nodding toward the weirwood. Roots and sap and memories. We had gods like that once in Valyria. We burned most of them when we found dragons. Jon glanced at him. You don't believe in them, he said. Any of them. I believe in what men do in their names, Daemon said. And in fire and in steel and in the choices that set them moving. He came to stand beside Jon, close enough that their shoulders almost brushed. You have seen much in a short time, he said. More than many men see in 3 lifetimes. Dead men that walk. Creatures from your wet nurse's tales. A dragon. Jon's throat worked. I dreamed of them, he admitted, voice low. When I was a boy, dragons and castles and being something more than Ned Stark's bastard. Then I grew older and told myself they were just dreams. Foolish. He nodded toward the wall of ice looming beyond the trees. I thought this was enough. To stand here, to hold the line. And is it? Daemon asked. I don't know, Jon said. You brought a dragon to the wall. You fight dead things like you've been waiting for the chance. You talk to maesters in riddles. He looked at Daemon directly. "What do you want from me?" Daemon considered him. "I want you to live," he said. "First, last. Between those 2 points, I want you to be more than you think you are." Jon's jaw tightened. "I'm a bastard," he said. "That's what I am. Jon Snow. A sword in the dark if the watch will have me. Nothing more." Daemon's hand moved, quick as a striking snake. He seized Jon's wrist, the one that had touched Caraxes, and lifted it. The skin there was still reddened, faintly scarred. "Does this feel like nothing?" he asked. Heat flared under Jon's skin where Daemon's fingers gripped. "It's a burn," Jon said. "From your dragon." "It is a mark," Daemon corrected, "of what you are. You touched fire and it answered you. Not as it would answer any man. Not as it would answer Benjen or Jeor or Samwell Tarly. It recognized you." Jon's heartbeat stumbled. "You speak as if—" He broke off, shaking his head. No, if you mean to say what I think you mean, you're mad." "I'm no." "No what?" Daemon asked softly. "No prince? No dragon? No rightful heir to a line that has been smeared across half the realm?" Jon yanked his hand back as if burned anew. "My father is Eddard Stark," he said. "He raised me. He taught me. I don't care what stories you want to tell. That's truth." "I do not dispute it," Daemon said. "He is your father where it matters. Blood is only one kind of bond, but the world does not care who held you when you cried. It cares whose name you carry and what weight it has when spoken." Jon's laugh was harsh. "They call me Snow," he said. "That's the only name that's ever had weight on my shoulders." "For now," Daemon said again. "You can live and die as Jon Snow if you wish. Take your vows. Stand your watch. Be a good brother and a better man. No one will fault you for it." He turned to face the weirwood, the carved face there watching them with blind, bleeding eyes. "But the world will ask more," he said quietly. "It always does of those who can bear it. When it does, when it presses you between what you swore and what you know to be right, remember that there is more in you than this cloak and this name." Jon stared at him, breathing hard. "You still haven't answered," he said. "Who are you?" Daemon looked at the weirwood, then at Jon, then up at the slice of star-pricked sky. "I am a man who should have died a long time ago," he said. "I am a prince of a dead kingdom, a rider of an old dragon, a fool who asked the wrong gods the wrong question and was given more time instead of a clean death." He inclined his head very slightly. "And I am the man who means to make you my heir," he said. "Whether that heir wears black or red, or some new color the world has not yet seen, time will decide." Jon's breath caught. "You would claim me," he said, "as a son, as a successor," Daemon said. "As the sword I cannot be and the king I never was. You think of crowns as metal and jewels. I think of them as choices and burdens. I would have you ready to bear them, if they fall on your head." Jon rocked back as if struck. "I have taken no vows yet," he said, "but I came here to take them, to be part of something bigger than myself, to be useful." "There are many kinds of usefulness," Daemon said. "The wall needs brothers. The realm needs more. When winter truly comes, not the nibbling at the edges we have seen, but the full, hungry dark, you will not be able to hide up here and pretend the rest of the world does not exist. It will come knocking at your gate. It will ask your name. Best you know how to answer." Ghost whined softly, pressing his head against Jon's hand. Jon dug his fingers into the thick fur, grounding himself. "I am Jon Snow," he said at last. "Whatever else you say, whatever else you want to make of me, that is what I am now." "Good," Daemon said. "Hold to that. You will need something solid when the ground starts to move." He stepped back into the shadows. "When the time comes," he said, voice already fading into the dark, "I will ask you again, not to stroke my pride, but to give the world an answer it understands." Jon stared after him. The weirwood's face watched in silence, sap frozen like old blood at the corners of its carved eyes. The wind sighed through its leaves, making a sound almost like a breath. Above them all, unseen, The wall hummed with a deep, distant vibration, like something stirring in its sleep. Winter was not coming. It was already here,